Shalom. Welcome back to Understanding the World with Rabbi David Kaufman. I'm joined in the studio by Mark Finkelstein, and we are joined via Skype by Rabbi Jacques Cukierkorn from Kansas City. So, Jacques, welcome to Understanding the World.
Hello, David. It's a pleasure to be here. Hi. It's a
How
pleasure
are
to be here with you, to be part of your show, and that I have watched in the past, and I'm thrilled to be part of it now.
So tell us a little bit about the work that you do. What do you do in Kansas City first? Let's start off with that.
Right now, I try to stay away from the cold, which I'm sure it's warm compared with where you are, but I'm a rabbi at a small temple we started 2.5 years ago called Temple Israel, which is the bulk of my time. But having ADD and understanding needs that exist in the world that I know will not be met without my help or will not have happen the way they should happen, one sees the prophetic imperative to get involved. So the story is, I was born in Brazil, and living in Brazil, you have no choice but to stumble upon the many stories of hidden Jews whose family, unlike mine, that left Spain for Germany and eventually Poland, families that stayed and were forced to convert to Christianity and eventually ended up throughout Latin America. I believe, I wrote my thesis about this subject, and I believe there are somewhere in the vicinity of 40 to 50 million people in the world that have Jewish origins. And many of them wish to return to Judaism. And if these people were in Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, there'll be an easy story. They'll walk into any synagogue, would be happy to help them, would open their doors, would be happy to have them as congregants, would understand that they add to the diversity and to the strength of our people. Unfortunately, in Latin America, there are many people, the majority again, who claim to have Jewish ancestry, who have begun exploring that idea and want to learn more about Judaism, want to get closer to Judaism, and they find no support in the mainstream Jewish institutions. They actually experience very painful rejection.
No, why is that? Why do the Jewish institutions tend to reject them when they come?
I'm glad you asked me that, David, because if you have children, I have children. A child, you tell a little child, "Ma," child tells you, "Buy me something," and you use the old excuse, "Gee, I have no money." Child says, "Take it from the machine." Because they live in a world that's very simple. That's all the world they know, right? You put the card, the money comes out, magic. Americans were lucky to live in a society that's very open, that's very welcoming. You can walk to any synagogue, any church, any mosque. Unfortunately, in Latin America, the synagogue, because of real or invented security concerns, because of I'm committed not to say anything bad about anybody, but because of some racial issues, the fact that people seeking socioeconomic issues, the doors are not open. Furthermore, people they call the synagogues in general. Either there is no synagogue, simple, or if there is a synagogue, they are closed. Synagogues in Latin America are clubs of their own members. And they don't see the need or the obligation or the interest of opening the synagogue to anybody, which is, by the way, their prerogative. I don't argue with that. But still, there are hundreds of thousands of people who are looking for something, and it seems to me that if I can provide it, and they're not getting anywhere else, I will do it. When somebody seeks me out, the first thing I do, always, invariably, is to send them to their local Jewish community, hoping that they will get some help. If they get help, it's good. Generally, they don't. The other factor, and then I'll stop talking because I don't want to monopolize this, is that liberal Judaism is very small. The majority of the congregations are Orthodox, And there is a ban, a prohibition on performing Orthodox conversions to Judaism from Mexico down. There's historical reasons why. I'm not sure they are relevant here. They have to do with a ban that was instituted in the 1930s by some Orthodox Syrian rabbis. But the reality is that this ban, in my opinion, is maintained because it suits the needs of the Jewish community that really don't want to do it.
Rabbi, talking about some history, can you tell us about the Jewish community that established itself in Pernambuco after the Inquisition had begun?
Okay, so hi, Mark.
Hi. Hi.
First of all, a corner of Brazil, the top corner, the northeast, around Recife, was invaded by the Portuguese, and they were there for a short while, a couple dozen years, like 40 years, 50 years, small time. And however, with them, because they were established by the I don't know how you say that in English, Companhia das Índias, the West Indies Trading Company, who had mostly Jewish capital. Lots of Jews came there. The first synagogue in the Americas was there, and there's now some kind of archaeological findings where they keep finding synagogues and mikvahs in that region. And there were the first rabbi, Isaac Aboabi da Fonseca, who left when the Jews left. He left with them, and the majority of those Jews, after they established themselves for a while, they did very well. But when the Dutch were kicked out by the Portuguese, were expelled by the Portuguese, they left with them. They left first for the Caribbean, probably for Barbados, and the mythology is, which I'm not sure it's 100% historic, is that those are the first people who then settled in New Amsterdam, which again was a settlement of the West Indies Trading Company, and those are the first Jews in America.
So of the people who had emigrated to Brazil, were there many conversos at that time, or were they a different stock of people?
I will give you, Mark, a 2-minute summary of my thesis, understanding that I'm a rabbi, not an accountant. Here's the deal. Remember the Golden Girls says, picture it, Sicily, 1936. Picture it, Spain, 1942. Jews are forced to convert. There were about, the numbers of Jews are staggering, but probably, I haven't heard anything on the vicinity of 300,000 or more Jews were forced to, in Spain specifically, they were forced to convert or to leave.
This is 1492, not 1942.
Exactly. Thank you. See if you're paying attention. Thank you. Yes, 1492. About 200 of them end up in, they go to the closest place, which was Portugal. Okay? In Portugal, in 1496, there was a forced conversion as well. However, Portugal had a different dynamic. What you need to know is like this. Portugal had about 1 million people living there in 1492. Then about 200,000, of whom 100,000, 10% were Jews. And then about 200,000 other Spanish Jews come to Portugal. So you end up with Portugal as 1.2 million people, of which 25% are Jewish. Are you with me? I know the math is complicated.
Yes, got it.
Come 1496, Portugal had a different phenomena. Jews were not given a choice. The choice was convert or die, not convert or leave. There's a whole account on Jews were told you have to convert or leave, show up at the docks, and there'll be boats waiting to take you somewhere else. And they show up at the docks, and there was no boats, but there were priests sprinkling holy water on everybody, making everybody Catholic. Okay, so past 1496, you have Portugal with 1.2 million people, 100% of them Catholic, with the issue that 25% have Jewish origin. Okay.
Hey, Jacques, we're going to need to take just a second and call you back and establish a new connection here. because our Skype got messed up and you're frozen solid on the picture. So Ryan's going to call you right back, and we'll have your picture moving with your mouth on the show here. I think it's interesting when you talk about the history of the Jews at Spain coming up to 1492, not just in 1492, but even in the centuries prior. You had many Jews who had converted. The Inquisition itself, obviously, was based on going after people who had ostensibly converted to Catholicism, who were practicing Judaism in private, or at least believed to be practicing Judaism in private, and then publicly they were able to come to churches and participate in the Catholic community. And then people got upset that the Jews seemingly were able to continue functioning as Jews even after converting to Christianity. The Catholic Church wasn't happy about that. So you then had people who not only were in Spain, but also certainly ended up Portugal, but also certainly ended up in Italy and other places, who had left Spain. And how do they play in to this too?
Okay, so let me just say a couple of things. So first of all, the Inquisition had no power over people who were not Catholic.
Yeah.
So for all intents and purposes, a Jew is traveling on vacation, so to speak, in 1496, 97 in Portugal. He can practice his Judaism any way he wants. There's nothing. The Inquisition only had power over Catholics, and that's where the Jews get in trouble. Mm-hmm. The people of Jewish origin get in trouble is once they nominally are Catholic, then they have no choice. They become victims. There were networks of Anusim around the world, the connections. One of the things that historically has allowed Jews to be very good with trade is the existence of Batei Din and the ability to enforce debts, and the connections that people had of trust allowed them to trade everywhere in the world and have credit everywhere in the world. But allow me to get to my first, because I really want to finish. It's taking me 1 minute. So 1.2 million Jews in Portugal in 1496, 25% of the population. These people, as they begin getting persecuted by the Inquisition, and because they are of an entrepreneurial class, they are more likely to want to settle in the New World, to stay away from the Inquisition. So, however, even if I am to assume that the people of Jewish origins from Brazil, from Portugal, moved to Brazil exactly to the same rate as their non-Jewish counterparts, you would have now, in logic, that 25% of the immigrants and their descendants in Brazil have Jewish origins. You with me? Mm-hmm. Now, Portuguese comprise 40% of the immigrants of Brazil, which means 25% of 40% is 10%. That's where I come from. A number of 20 million people, about 20 million people in Brazil may have Jewish origins. And when you deal with certain areas like the Northeast, the area that Mr. Finkelstein just asked, I believe that about 70% of the white population there have Jewish origins. I have even met a Jewish priest.
Okay.
A guy who's a Catholic priest in a church who tells everybody he's of Jewish origins, but he loves Jews, he loves Israel, he speaks about Golda Meir. I mean, it's the craziest thing ever.
Hmm. So, tell us a little bit about your congregation, what Brit Bracha is, and how you reach out to the people in Brazil.
Okay, so Brit Bracha is a long-distance learning organization. We attempt to provide, right at this stage of our development, I can tell you about future plans, we try to provide to people everything we can, such as Shabbat morning services. We do them in Portuguese and in Spanish. Everything I'm going to tell you, we do both languages separate. Okay, Shabbat morning services, classes on Hebrew instruction, convergent, basic Judaism, classes on Hebrew texts like on Pirkei Avot, on Talmud, We do special like symposium on specific events. We held the first ever Tikkun Leil Shavuot that was done all night long over the internet in Portuguese. I have done to date about 500 conversions. I wrote a book. That's what lots of people find me through my book. That is a basic guide to Judaism, and it's in Spanish and in Portuguese, two different books. And we have a very, very strong presence on social media. If you go to Facebook and you do a search for the word Judaismo, like Judaism with an O at the end, the first site that appears is one of my pages. It's called Instructions About Judaism, Instrução sobre Judaísmo, and it has almost 7,000 members, and it's the largest Portuguese language page on Facebook. And then people talk with each other. You know, that's the beauty of the internet. So, and generally, I end up working with people who have been searching for this for 5, 10, 20 years.
Rabbi Jacques, what happens to people after conversion?
We continue forgot to say, our next plan is to begin religious school over the internet. We're working on right now. Our plan is to, first of all, we continue providing them lectures and classes and things. And as the organization grows, and it has been growing, we definitely need help to make it grow. And on their own, it's going to happen. It's going to take a long time. From when we get help from here, we can expedite that. Is to establish local synagogues in different regions so that people can congregate there. They still would probably not have a rabbinical presence. So I probably would still, even when we have local synagogues, I'll still be webcasting sermons and stuff like that. Forgot to tell you also, we also have a big presence on YouTube. I make every week, sometimes more than once a week, videos about Jewish topics, Jewish current events, the Parsha, and again, and I make them in Spanish and Portuguese. We have a channel on YouTube that also brings lots of people.
Now, Jacques, there's somebody who you wanted to have talk with us, Fabiano.
Yes.
And we can get him on, but we can't have you on at the same time. Otherwise, it looks like our Skype is not going to work if we try to do that.
Then bump me out.
So what would you like to have us talk to him about?
You can ask him any questions you want. His case is quite interesting because here you have a man who is a doctor, a dentist, who has his own hospital, very intelligent, very well spoken. I don't know how good his English is, but maybe you can ask him his story. What does bracha means to him? I don't know. Hey,
well, we could have you both on and have both voices, but not both with pictures. Evidently, that's what. Why don't we do that so you can ask him the questions and then you can translate if he has trouble in English. How's
here's
that?
The deal. He told me he speaks English.
Okay, well then we'll just have him on and we'll ask him.
If he can't, I'll translate. Okay, and you can take my picture down for sure.
Okay. So why don't we go ahead and do that, Ryan? So we'll have Fabiano on with us in just a second here, and I guess it's Dr. Fabiano. I don't have a last name. I just have a first name, I have always. Okay, you there, Fabiano?
Hello.
Hello. How are you? We got a little bit of feedback, but we can hear you. What? Oh. Okay. Do you happen to have headphones that you can use? Our producer says that may help your community, your echo here.
I don't.
Okay. Well, actually, there we can see it. I think part of what's going on is that it's echoing to your microphone from when we talk. But so tell us a little bit about who you are.
I'm sorry. I don't have on good internet in Brazil. But I want hello from Brazil. Who are was. My name is Fabian Leite. I'm a dentist and live in Belo Horizonte with my wife and my 3 children.
Ah.
We convert girls have a great fortune to have to know Britt Braga and Rabbi Jacques Cukierkorn from Kansas. Due to a misinterpretation during an early decision of the chief rabbinate of Israel, there is not many conversions in Latin America. Rabbi can talk better about. Thanks to technology, I can get to distance, learn, socialize, attend religious service, and a few integration with people in Israel. I'm very happy in this interview. It's a moment precious from Brazil. Thanks.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So there are a lot of people who I think in various places around the world, not just in Latin America, who are interested in kind of connecting and learning. And my joke has always been that the future of Judaism is in Southeast Asia. There may not be any Jewish presidents in Southeast Asia right now, but if we get 1% of the Chinese population, 1% of the Indian population, we will be able to have a very substantially sized Jewish community, and there's and dealing with Latin America, the same thing is true. If there's a small percentage of a very large population that is interested in converting to Judaism, it behooves us to reach out to them. And Rabbi Cukierkorn is at the lead of reaching out, certainly in Portuguese, but also in Spanish, and to do so in an open way that lets people feel like they can approach him. And one of the things the internet is good for is allowing people to approach with no real threat there. It's a low barrier of entry, and for people who aren't really sure what it means to connect with the Jewish community, we're able to be able to reach out to them. Isn't that right, Rabbi Cukierkorn?
Let me comment on that. You know me. We know each other for a long time. You know me to be a peaceful kind of guy.
Yes.
I only remember once having had a certain interaction that I am glad I was doing it over the phone rather than in person, because I really had to contain my wish to strangle the guy. And I'm not going to mention names, but I was calling a rabbi. I received a call from a group of people in El Salvador. And nearby there was a synagogue. And I knew there was a synagogue affiliated with the Reform movement. So I called the rabbi to ask him, there's all these people, I don't know him that much, evidently need to be careful, but would you meet with them? Would you talk to them? Even if you don't bring them into your synagogue, would you teach them? They're there. I don't need to do this. Yeah. So he told me, oh, no, I cannot do that. How come? And, well, there's about 250 Jews in my community in this country. Okay. And there are easily 10 times more, 2,500 people who would like to become Jewish. And then I said, great, what's the problem? I mean, wouldn't you, David, love to multiply your Jewish community there by 10? I mean, wouldn't I love to? I'll give an arm for that. This guy says, oh, no, I can't do that, because otherwise there will be more of them than of us. That was the point I had my blood boil, because this is the difference in attitude between them and between these people in Latin America and how we have, is for him, having people come from the outside is a burden. And evidently, what he fails to understand, that rabbi, is that once somebody becomes one of us, they are us. There's a positive mitzvah to receive converts. What do we call a Jew that a person who's not Jewish and converts? Jewish, not convert. There are no converts today. There's Jews and non-Jews. But it's a different view of the world, something that I don't believe I have the right to fight. Again, it's their synagogue. I'm not trying to teach people how to run their shul. I know there's a need. I'm trying to help the people. And when the situation warrants, I have in different parts of the world, for instance, Mexico, in Guatemala, I have helped them establish synagogues. If I stumbled upon money, I support them by helping them pay the rent or giving them Torahs or religious objects or whatever.
And what size are some of these communities that you're talking about? I mean, I know people are scattered all over, but give me an idea. They're 25 people, 50 people, 100 people, 10 people. What are we talking about?
They range from there's individuals, but to actually have a synagogue, for instance, we have one in Mexico City that may have about 40 people.
Okay.
There's one in Guatemala City who also have about 30. We don't have I don't have much contact with them anymore. They're doing well on their own. But for instance, even when there is no synagogue, but there are 2 or 3 people in the same town, I tell them, why don't you get together to
be Jewish
celebrate
together?
To have to watch the webcast together and then have lunch, then do something. I understand that the internet is a very legitimate means, and as you pointed out, a low burden way on one hand. On the other hand, it's not real. Real is to be in person, and that's also why I insist we do once a year congresses, international congresses. I do where it's needed, but right now for sure once a year in Brazil, once a year in Mexico, and that's a chance for people to see each other and to see me and to be together and to share and to do the life cycle events that are needed. By the way, if you ever have the desire to come, David, you're more than welcome to come help me make a bed-in.
I love it. I always tell people who come to me for conversion that Judaism is not practiced by yourself. It's we don't believe in an intercessor. You can pray directly to God on your own, but at the same time, we believe strongly in a value of interacting in a community, and so. I can understand what you're saying, that even 2 or 3 people getting together is better than being by yourself. And are you seeing, are the members of your organization being able to recruit other people? Are you seeing these congregations being able to reach out to others, or are they interacting with you and you're adding one at a time as they come along? How are things working?
Both. Again, one difficult thing is we are not proselytizing. Judaism is not proselytizing. I'm not proselytizing. I don't place ads. Hey, when I become Jewish, what we do is have the door open. So what I tell my people is, if you encounter other people and they are on a similar quest as yours, I don't want you to be alone. Invite them in if it's appropriate for them. I don't engage in polemics. People ask me, but give me arguments to fight them. I said, don't fight. There's no need to fight. Some of my best friends are not Jewish. So we just try to create an environment that those who want to come and learn can do it. And what happens is either the people who are members know of others, or they other people seek me out. So now I have 2 people in the same area. So I put them in touch one with the other. And you know what? Like Jews, sometimes they work fine and sometimes they hate each other. That I feel they're even more Jewish.
Rabbi, who are some of the other rabbis that you use as role models for your congregants to listen to?
Well, interesting. Somebody asked me that yesterday because I was teaching about Pirkei Avot, where it says, acquire for yourself a master.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And well, my main method, the man who opened the doors for me to think about that Judaism could be different, that Judaism could use technology in a wild way, that we don't need to be sticking with the old ways, was my thesis advisor, Dr. Ellis Rifkin, Zichrono Livracha. He was a wonderful guy. I know that now. So that's the main one. a man who, by the way, didn't believe in the story of the Marranos until I began writing my thesis. And when he became my thesis advisor, his goal was to have me write a piece refuting, showing that it was all bogus. And by the end, I convinced him of, based on the evidence I saw, that those claims are real. There are other rabbis doing similar work. For instance, in New Mexico, maybe in Arizona, in Texas, there is one person doing some work similar, but they do it mostly locally. I try to use my thinking in using the internet is twofold. The first one is you can get today a college degree from any university, Yale, Harvard, over the internet. So why couldn't you get Jewish instruction? The second thing is, if technology was good enough for the Rambam, for Maimonides, then it's good enough for me. Maimonides used in his day the most modern method of communication. They're called igrot, they're letters. People would write him a letter. The Jewish community of Yemen wrote the Rambam question, how should we pray? Takes like a year for the letter to get to him. He sits over it for 2 years, writes something, sends them back not a little letter, but a whole book, a whole prayer book. And today, the Jews left in Yemen, as well as the Yemenite Jewish diaspora, still prays using the Siddur that the Rambam created for them. Okay, so that's that. No. So use those means, but at the same time, I'm cognizant of Jewish tradition. I have been accused of being an internet rabbi, that I press the button and you print your conversion certificate. It's nothing like that. Conversion happens in person with the proper rituals. People are circumcised in advance. We do a tafat dambri. We do all what our traditions require.
Now, obviously, you're doing this from a liberal, progressive Jewish perspective as opposed to an Orthodox perspective. How does that how does that impact the work you're doing? And do you find that people find it easier to come into Reform Jewish tradition? Do you find that their understanding of Judaism is Orthodox Judaism, and you have to explain that it's not? How do you find when people come to you dealing with that Orthodox Reform issue?
In many understanding that in Latin America, the most known form of Judaism is Orthodoxy. People tend to believe that that's the only way, or that's the best way. And evidently, when they come and they say, I want to be an Orthodox Jew, first of all, I don't really believe they can live an Orthodox life because there's no minyan, there's no mikvah, there's no kosher butcher, so I asked them, do you want to be a non-observant Orthodox?
Yeah.
I have a relative who used to say, I'm a non-observant Orthodox. I respect but don't practice. So I asked for a little be coherent. But I think that, so sometimes I have to mostly I try to make them see on their own. I don't need to convince anybody. And I'm not selling anything. So if they want, fine. If they don't, at the same time, I have to explain to them that, I'm not converting them to be Reform. I'm not converting them to be conservative or Orthodox. I'm converting them to be Jews.
Yeah.
And as Jews, they can choose, at least within my liberal perspective, they can choose to do anything they want. The other thing, by the way, that Brit Bracha does that I don't know of any other communal Jewish organization in all of Latin America that does, is that we have a totally open door to homosexuals. It's a huge issue in Latin America. We have lost lots of people who have said, we don't want to be with you if you allow a homosexual person to be here. All the myths that, I always believe that if the world is going to come to an end, I would like to go back to Latin America because they're 50 years behind on everything. So they are still on those issues. Oh, a homosexual is a pedophile. A homosexual is this, that. And, I tell them, let it be clear that it's not that I like the homosexuals so much, it's that I really hate the intolerant people. And I have no question that Brit Bracha would be probably twice as big if we didn't have that stance.
Rabbi, you have then people who tune in to you on a regular basis. What questions do they ask about relating to their spouse who have not taken the same path?
Great question. Sometimes families do it, the whole family. I mean, grandpa, grandma, the kids, the in-laws, everybody. So you have a bunch of people. And sometimes you have a situation where somebody is converting and the spouse is totally not convinced yet. Even the conservative rabbis that work with people in Latin America will not do conversions in that case. I don't believe in forcing people to convert. Thus, I will convert them. And if nothing else, I end up fighting with them just as I fight with the interfaith couples that I marry here in Kansas City or around the world to tell them, this is what you bought into for. You're marrying a non-Jew. When they have Christmas, go to their parents' house and celebrate it with them. It's about family. It's not, and food. Food is good. So I say Christmas, the only time I wish I was intermarried, because I get tired of eating Chinese food every year. So as a matter of fact, one of my best friends is an Episcopalian priest. Every once in a while, I weasel an invitation to his house for Christmas. Very cool. But seriously, I try to impress upon people. They come in with all kinds of mishigas. Oh, now that I'm becoming a Jew, I cannot walk into a church anymore. And those are the times I really fight with them. I will not fight with them to convince them not to be Orthodox, but I will fight with them to convince them to be open-minded. They have their truth, we have our truth. Accepting that their truth is true for them, for somebody else, does not detract from our truth. Just be pleasant. Judaism should not be an excuse for you to have bad family relations. Or if you don't have bad family relations, do it on your own accord. Don't blame me or Judah.
Now, what is the anti-Semitism situation in various places in Central Latin America where these Jewish communities are?
There is none. There is maybe ignorance, but to speak of anti-Semitism, a well-thought, Ku Klux Klan or, Nation of Islam, not even remotely. I mean, if a Jew walks in the street wearing a kippah, and, I don't know if you know this about my dark past, David, but I grew up in an Orthodox home. You may walk in the street and from somewhere somebody may call, "Hey, Jew!" And if you look around, they run. That's the worst that could happen to you. I don't think there's anti-Semitism. What there is that once those particular individuals, there's perhaps two issues. One is once those particular individuals decide to begin looking into Judaism or to claim their Judaism, they get totally shunned by their communities of origin. And if they had left Christianity for Buddhism, for Islam, they'll be welcome there. But only in the Jewish communities that they are not accepted. So they are in limbo. That's one issue. And the only other issue that I could see that I don't think is anti-Semitism, but could be perceived as being detrimental, being Jewish, is that if Jews are perceived as being wealthy, and they are, they become more of a target for robberies, for kidnappings, and stuff like that. That is a very sad reality in Latin America.
Rabbi, when you translate materials like the Siddur into either Spanish or Portuguese, are there nuances that can't be adequately conveyed?
Evidently, from every language.
Yes.
From every language. However,
yeah.
we strive, we use in my synagogue, I don't know what David is using, but we use the UPB Sinai edition. And we have now a prayer book that we created for Brit Bracha with permission, we translated, that's mostly based on that. And we at least aim at, if we can translate literally or the exact words, to get not only the poetry and the beauty of the language, in Portuguese, which evidently, and we're constantly revising. We always come up with a new way. And the other thing is this idea of even having prayers in the native language, is Portuguese or Spanish, is very novel. People, I think they like it. They haven't complained, but it's not done. Normally, you go to a regular synagogue, even the Reform ones, all the prayers are hit for 95%.
And what are they used to in the churches? I mean, the churches would be in vernacular, right?
Oh, they're Portuguese for sure. Yes, yes.
They're not doing
have,
Latin Mass or something like that.
Since the 60s. Yes.
A general question that you may or not have thought about. What is the influence of liberation theology upon the Jews who live there?
Oh, on the Jews. Here's the deal. That I don't know. I mean, this being a free country, you ask wherever you want. Can I answer wherever I want?
Yeah.
Good. What I can tell you is that, Jews in general are not that. I think it's beginning to change, and maybe my generation is a little better about it. But Jews tended not to be very engaged with the general community, and now you begin to see more and more things like mitzvah days. By the way, Brit Bracha holds a mitzvah day every year, and they did it like behind my back on my birthday to honor me. That was very nice of them. They organized, but this idea of being involved in the community and serving the people certainly was not present when I was growing up. Remember, I'm old, I'm 46. I haven't been in Brazil for over 25 years. So I just go back once in a while. But I believe it's beginning to change. The big impact of everything we're talking about in the liberation theology is a sign of, is like this. It used to be a time that the Catholic Church was the church, and they dominated. Slowly, evangelical churches began growing. Today, there are close to 50% of the people in Brazil are of some sort of evangelical kind. And in fact, I find many of the people that seek me out are people who began Catholic, then they become some kind of Protestant. Then once they begin reading the Bible, they begin questioning. And once they begin questioning, they question everything. Why is the Sabbath on Sunday, not on Saturday? What's the deal with Jesus? They were never allowed to ask. Once you open Pandora's box and you allow them to ask questions, the sky's the limit. And then they move from Catholics to evangelicals, from evangelicals to some kind of Adventists or Seventh-day Adventists. Some of them, there's humongous messianic synagogues who, still have all the Jewish trappings, kippahs, the talis, and the whole shebang, but they're not Jews because they talk about Jesus. So there are people who attempt to call themselves Karaites. At best, they follow the Bible. They're not Karaite. Being a Karaite, Karaites also have oral law, just different. So
there's a group in the U.S. called B'nai Noach that are very similar to that.
There are people who promote those values as well. Today, Brazil is a big supermarket of religion. People are much more interested in spirituality. So that's one of the reasons why it's very gratifying to be there. The other thing I want to, if you're not going to ask, I will add, because after all, it's
okay.
Which is, the main thing that moves me is like this, not only helping them today, is knowing that, first of all, that some of these people I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been a rabbi for 20 years. People who I converted early on already have children who were born Jews because I converted mom and dad or mom or dad. Is to know that they may have a hard time, but their children, their grandchildren will have it better. One thing that moves me a lot is to know that there was a historical phenomenon about 200 years ago in Eastern Europe, where large number of people left the Orthodox Church when the evangelicals began showing up, or different ideas began showing up, and same process that I described to you of people questioning, and they decided to adopt Judaism. They adopted Judaism on their own, without the benefit of a rabbinical conversion or anything. They created large Jewish communities. Large number of Jews today are descendants of these people who converted 200-300 years ago. There are people in the Israeli government who are descendants of these people. They don't want you to talk about that because they fear that the ultra-Orthodox will come beat on them and say, well, you're really not a Jew because you 300 years ago somebody didn't convert properly. But the reality is that if I wasn't telling you this story, you'd have never. I assume you'll never hear about it. So what I know is that the work I'm doing today is not only important for today, it's important for 200 and 300 years from now. The Jewish world is going to be different, going to be more. I feel as a rabbi, the only thing I can do that has real meaning, real significance is to convert. Because if I write a good sermon, it's a bad thing because next week I have to write another one, and they expect it to be good as well. If I you know that, right? If I write a book, I've written a few books. As long as I push my books, people will buy them. Eventually, they're going to end up in the dollar bin at Barnes and Noble. If I write a song, they'll sing it for a while. It's not going to be Strangers in the Night. Okay, so people are not going to be singing it for the future. But the only work I can do that pays result today and will continue paying in perpetuity for the Jewish people is to do conversion.
Rabbi, you talk about the future. In the future, probably there'll be shuls on Mars.
I hope so.
So what do you want people to know? People who are watching this show and they're in Brazil or they're somewhere else in Latin America, what is the one thing you want, or what specifically do you want them to know? What do you want them to do?
That they have, well, I don't think that too many people in Latin America will be watching this, although I'll try to promote it. I have a bigger message for people in the States. Mm-hmm. But in Latin America, I want people to know that they have choices, that they just need to seek out, that even as we don't actively seek to proselytize them, because we're not, there is an open door. And to the best of my knowledge, Brit Bracha is the only one that offers the multiplicity of services that we do.
So what is the message for the people in the United States you're saying? Give us the 2-minute version.
The 2-minute version is that you can be a partner in helping create a Jewish world and helping other people who want to be Jewish to have access to Judaism through Brit Bracha, through membership, through affiliation. I think when people are associated with us, I allow them to come with us on our trips or visit our congregations. And I really think it changes their lives. I have taken many people. They really are. They return change because it's so awesome for them to see how much these people love Judaism. I think one of our greatest problem as American Jews is an embarrassment of riches. We have so much and we value so little. So, and we give people an opportunity to participate. We are tax exempt since we started. The government recognizes the value of our contribution to society, and participate and be informed. Make videos. Some of them are in English as well.
Kol hakavod.
It's absolutely wonderful. So, Rabbi Jacques Cukierkorn of Brit Bracha in Temple Israel in Kansas City, thank you so much for joining us today on Rabbi Kaufman's Understanding the World, and we wish you the best in your efforts. And we'll see in a decade or two. We'll see more Jews in Central and South America and Latin America, and we're sure that the groups that you've worked with and you specifically will have had a significant responsibility in making that happen. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Shalom.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit! You're our hero!
All across America, there are countless numbers of people struggling with addiction and other life-controlling issues. Probably someone you know and love. There is a way out. There is hope. Transformations Treatment Center in Delray Beach, Florida, has a unique approach to substance abuse treatment. Call now and ask about our Guaranteed Success program or log on to transformationstreatment.com. Transformations. Change your life. Change your relationships. Transform your world.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places, especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart, and it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.